The driver is about a boxer who gets involved with some criminal friends who talk him into being the getaway driver for a robbery. Down on his luck, boxer agrees to be the driver for a heist. When things go horribly wrong, he finds himself with a dead partner and a duffel bag full of cash, with no one else to account for the take. The boxer decides to keep health for himself, but is promptly busted by his employer, who gives him a choice: kill or be killed. The film's producer is Oscar-winning actor and filmmaker Forrest Whitaker, and will direct by Alex Ardenti. I approach every film individually, but action and drama is a cut above than others. I'm full of dramatic feels when I take a project based on a couple things. At this stage in my career, there are a lot of relationships involved, a handful of directors. When they do a movie, it's a no-brainer. It's an automatic. Just do it. You know, it's like marriage. You are in there for better or worse, and sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse, but friendships are established and creative relationships are established, and it becomes very meaningful in that regard. Making music for a film is a really difficult job because you have to think a lot of details, such as what the director wants, what the script tells, must or mustn't there be music on the scan, etc. When I started thinking about the theme, right when I read the script, except that I wasn't really sure what the look will be, but I love to read script. I never write music according to script, because while I'm reading the script there is a lot of skins in my mind, and I can't write music to them because of the director shooting the film according to his or her imaginations, not mine. So my score can be deeply or fuzzy at last, you know. This is really big risk for my score and for the movie. I usually read the script and watch early cuts of the film first. Then I concept that will be associated with the score, something identifiable as that film. Then I start composing character themes and more abstract themes. Eventually I meet with the director and go over ideas for the cues and spot the film, choosing where and what music should go in the film. After a lot of composing and work, I end up with a stack of sheet music and an uncountable amount of backing music tracked at my studio. I eventually end up on the scoring stage conducting the orchestra. I always find that the story sets the mood, and the characters need to be identified by who they are. Their themes are always affected by whatever the mood is, dependent on where the character is in his or her life. It definitely affects the way I'm going to write music. That's why you hear this reluctant superhero vibe. It's very prevalent. Music was always a passion of mine. I didn't grow up in a household of musicians, but they were music lovers. I started piano lessons when I was 6. During 10 years I played classical piano repertoires such as Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Rachmaninoff, etc. After that I started composition, orchestration, and film scoring lessons my high school times. They were very interesting and awesome years for me because I discovered a lot of new things about music. Film music has always been my favorite concern, because while I was playing the music on the piano or whatever, I'm multi-instrumentist, as I said, I was dreaming some scales in my mind. Later I thought myself like acoustic drum and bass guitar, got interested in world instruments. Composing started at a fairly young age, and then by my teen years I was very passionate about composing, although I had no form to showcase what I loved to do. I'm playing the piano, cello, violin, acoustic drum, bass guitar, so I can play and record the partitions for my film scores at the studio. When I was 21, I started GALES Technical University Music Composition Department in Istanbul, Turkey. After that 4 years, I went to Canada, Toronto Music Academy for 2 years. When I finished that school, I started Toronto School of Music, Film Scoring Department. Yeah, I've composed a lot of music for gyms and nutrition companies such as Alpha Nutrition, Mutant, 4+ Nutrition, Betancourt Nutrition, etc. I started to write music for this kind of commercials after I met Alex Ardanti, who produced and directed films, documentaries and commercials. He's an awesome person and incredible talented artist. He's producer, director and also a professional photographer. He will direct the Driver movie that I will compose music. Our first job was a documentary film about 2008 Mr. Olympia Dexter Jackson called Unbreakable. Alex really loved the main title music and asked me, would you like to write music for nutrition commercials? I said, of course. Today we are still working together for all Ardanti film productions. Making music for commercial is a very interesting and forcible process because you have to understand what the brand needs. The music must give brand equity to the commercial. Usually producers and jocks want high motivational music for the commercials. Ingredients for good exercise video music is crescendo and inspirational beats that motivate someone to exercise. Everybody knows me as a composer who works very fast. That's absolutely true. I scored Killer BS documentary for Discovery Channel 5 years ago. When I finished the score, they said, you know what, we changed the editing and you have to write music one more time for half of the documentary and we have just 1 day. I was surprised but I finished on time. 37 minutes full orchestral music in just 5 hours. Because, as I said, I'm a multi-instrumentist, so I played a lot of partitions for documentary. I'm working 15 or 18 hours in a day. That's a good question. Actually, there's no big difference. 12 or 15 high budget movies completed in Turkey every year and a lot of low budget movies. Turkish filmmakers don't use lots of technology. For instance, there is only a few studio movies in Turkey last year. Film composers use the sample technologies generally, but sometimes, if the budget is enough of course, they can use the live orchestra for recording season. I have my own orchestra, totally 37 players, and I'm using live musicians as much as I can for my projects. I have a big soundtrack archive and I'm listening a lot of musical style. My father taught me Turkish ethnic music and I love it so much. I studied a few different schools about the music and I discovered a lot of music styles. So I can compose East and West music because of this. In 2009 I released my first solo album called Last Night of the Universe, and I uploaded some tracks from the album to MySpace. There were 40 million listeners after 6 months on my page. I made a lot of interview and joined a lot of TV program, and everyone asked me, how did you do that? Actually, I did nothing, but I have worked very hard for that album, so that album deserved in my estimation. The album is still selling with my soundtracks on iTunes, Spotify, Shazam, and Bandcamp, etc., and the other digital platforms, of course. I would like to write music for Back to the Future trilogy, and maybe Terminator 2. They were my favorite films. I've composed additional music for Fast and Furious 5 and 6, Killer Bees documentaries, Gonia's review score, Unbreakable film, and We Don't Leave Humanity Behind, and some Four Seasons commercials, and The Driver right now.